All right, so I, in lieu of a joke, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Last night, Bill went to bed and I was ironing my pants and Luke kept getting up and down. And we've been teaching Luke to stop and breathe and relax and carry on. And because he has occasional meltdowns, as 3-year-olds do. So Bill's in bed and he's like, I want crackers at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, no crackers, Luke, no crackers. And he goes to the cabinet, opens and he gets out a little thing of Ritz. And I'm like, fine, Luke, one cracker. And so he eats his crackers and I'm like, you cannot eat your crackers in our bed, Luke? No. He's like, okay, Nana. He eats his crackers, he goes in, comes back out. Crackers are on this little shelf by our door. And he goes to reach for them. I said, Luke, no more crackers. And Luke says, stop. Don't get frustrated. Just breathe. Three. I was like, am I in a movie? Stop. I couldn't believe it. So there you go. Now, he's taken on the concepts as ideal, but does he practice them? No. Do most of us practice all the things we talked about? No. But it's good to know he's listening, because we often go, you're not listening. So anyway, I thought that was a cute story. Today I wanted to talk about, well, actually, I probably wrote 12 talks, so I have enough talks for the coming year, but I was really, with the given events and, just things going on in our country. It's not a political talk by any means, but, we all have differing opinions and views. And I kept asking myself, what do I want the aim of this conversation to be? And I look at this place. We come together for a few hours on Sunday where we get to leave the world out there. And so spiritual principle, I'm much like Luke. I try to allow this to guide my life, and sometimes I fall short. So I was driving up here, and the poem, The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer came to me. And I wanted to know what inspired her to write this poem. And she said she was at a cocktail party, or some party, and she was moving through the crowd and recognized all of the chatter and the conversation that people were having. And how it was the same conversation she heard at the last party she went to, and how we just repeat the same stories. And she found something empty about it, which inspired her to go home and write this poem. So I'm going to take a few minutes to read the poem to you, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine and your own, without moving to hide it, fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, my joy and your own. If you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and to the bottoms of your feet and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, remembering the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another and be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not present in your everyday life? And if you source your own life from beauty's presence, I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when everything falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the emptiest moments of your life. This poem, Oriah says, was written again in the response to the evening at the party. But her invitation is a journey back to the heart, asking us to look inward when we feel disheartened and lack real connection with our community or our people or our families. In her words, she wanted to strip away the pretense and ask the questions that reveal who we are at our core. The invitation to the heart asks us again to look inward, to embrace vulnerability at its strongest, and to live from the deepest inner truth. We're going to explore a few of these stanzas, and we'll consider the spiritual principle that supports them. This authentic life, these principles are what guide us. It's why we come here for these few hours a day. It's why we come to classes. It's our quest to know our true and deepest part of ourselves. In spite of what's going on in the impermanence and the objective world, which we do have to deal with, but for a few moments of our day on Sundays, we can let that go as we walk across the sanctuary, praying for other people and being happy for their gratitude on the wall. And we can remind ourselves as we walk through the door that our future is indeed bright with promise, no matter what our eyes see, no matter what side of the line you fall on, where you point your attention. I won, I lost is irrelevant. We as a collective community change the world through changing ourselves. It isn't necessarily creating a world that works for everyone. It's creating a world that works for you and that is reflected through your beingness and mirrored back to the people that we meet. Giving them hope, sharing joy, love, compassion, empathy, and understanding at the highest true knowledge. In the first stanza, daring to dream of meeting your heart's longing. Gosh, I don't know about you, but my heart's longing is to know myself in my heart beyond any measure of the objective world. So that when I meet the objective world, my heart's longing can show up in the most truthful and honest way. Not a promise that my words won't always sting, but that they will be authentic and genuine and from my heart to yours so that you may live your best life, and then I know I am living mine. The spiritual principle here is desire as divine guidance. Desire isn't just a whim. Desire is what you want. One of the things my teacher always tells me is, what do you want, Tracey? I had, for 2 years, the hardest time answering that question. I wasn't raised to think about what I want. I was raised to think about what everybody else wants. I was raised to think about what my teachers wanted, even if they were unkind. I was raised to think about what my parents wanted, what they thought was best for me. I was raised to think about what my bosses wanted and what my friends wanted. But never once did I stop to think about what I want or desire, and that it had validity, and that I could have my good, and it does not impact yours. The good we have as a collective community, no matter where we fall in the objective reality, does not take away good from anyone else. It shows them indeed that they can have it. Isn't that beautiful? Your good helps me to dream about my good. Your wealth, your opulent job, your beautiful home when I walk in. The beautiful Reverend Cheryl, when I went to see her house for the first time, I walked in and I go, oh, I'm a little jelly. This is a beautiful house. Because we were in the midst of losing ours. And she goes, girl, don't come in here with that talk about jealousy. If you heard her, you know. And she goes, this house is telling you you can have your own, and that much greater. That you can take the blueprint of this house home to your husband, and y'all can draw the one you want and put your demand on Spirit and know that you can have it. Know what you want. Desire is not a whim. It is often a call from Spirit nudging us toward growth and fulfillment and purpose. Ernest Holmes reminds us, desire is a divine seeking. It's desire, it's wish to express itself in us. To dare to meet our heart's longing is to listen to that inner call and trust it, and to lay everything that's opposing it down. What do you truly ache for? And what would it look like to honor the deepest desire of your heart, even if it asks you to be vulnerable? Stanza 2, sitting with pain and joy alike. I want to know if you can sit with me in the pain, mine and your own, without moving to hide it, fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with the joy without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, remembering the limitations of being human. You know what came in my mind was, when you're little and mom says, be careful, don't do that, you can't have that, no. And all these limitations make us feel small, and we're expansive beings. We're expansive. And when we're young, our parents, in their most beautiful way, create limitations. I was talking to my teacher, Tom, and I said, one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to screw Luke up. And he goes, you're gonna. It's your job. It was your parents' job. And do we mean to? No. But in whether you take great care, you're limiting his ability to be expansive. And if you don't take care, you're teaching him resilience. So either way, Luke's path is his. For him to look back on when he gets older and to reconcile that which he is not and purge it, and to live a re-remembering, as Jim told me in practitioner training this week, right? We're having a re-remembering, and someone at school this week, I got quite fussy with this person who said, when I walked in and I said, how's Luke doing? He's so excited to be in the 3-year-old room. And he goes, Luke's Luke. And I was like, no, I don't. Mama Bear came out, and he goes, well, he's defiant. I mean, we don't use that word in my house. We use independent and persistent. Maybe in the closet when I'm talking to Bill, we might use defiant. But you don't get to use it about my son. And then I was bringing this up with the practitioners, and we were reimagining, revisioning what words could I go to that teacher, and instead of complaining about him, how could I go and be authentic with him and risk offending him, we ended up having a beautiful conversation. And he goes, I wish more parents would come to me to talk to me about what they want for their child so that we could work together to make that happen. And he was so excited that he got to make an action plan. And I was like, well, thank you, because I was really not happy about the words you used. And when I got home and Luke started getting into everything and I started getting fussy, I thought, oh, I can understand his fussiness. He's got 18 3-year-olds. I have one, But the spiritual principle is embracing, Holmes tells us life is an adventure in which we learn as much from our sorrows as from our joys. Embracing pain and joy alike opens us to the wholeness beyond duality, your true nature. It's the spiritual journey of learning to be with what is. No hiding, no escaping. Oh my gosh, and just acceptance, expansive acceptance, right? And that no matter what, we're gonna make mistakes. We make them. I'm gonna make them. Bill makes them. And, and I'm like, ooh, if Luke gets really fussy and knocks his glasses off and I'm like, easy. And, we do this and we mean well, but we do get fussy and we try really hard, but at the core of our intention is love. But, like Luke said, stop. Don't get frustrated. But, it's okay. And what we begin to realize is no matter what's going on in the world, it's all here because it's supposed to be. Because everything that's going on is a projection of our reality, yours independently, mine collectively. What's happening in the micro happens in the macro. And it's okay because my teacher, Tom, reminded me, what's here is here. Your response to it is how you move through the world. That's the beauty of law, is that we always get what we're asking for, no matter what. It's benevolent. It doesn't care. It gives you what you want and where you point your attention and what you're thinking about. So we have to change our thinking. We have to realign it, point it in a different direction. Number 3, seeing beauty beyond the surface. I want you to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty. Every day, every single day, there is something not pretty, and there is the most beautiful thing in that. And if you can source your own life from its presence, from the beauty and the mundane, from the things going on, can we go inward and understand that it's all working in divine timing, and that we can see the divine everywhere, and gratitude and beauty is what cultivates this. Beauty is not only perfection in presence, but Holmes said to see beauty is to see the divine. To see beauty beyond the surface is to practice the spiritual discipline of perceiving spirit in all things. We don't get to selectively choose spirit, no, spirit, no. I mean, could you imagine a world where, that reminds me of school, right? Like all the A's over here, all the B's over here, all the C's over here, and you get sorted out and separated. And I don't know about you, but I really struggled in school. And something that came into my experience this week was when I was meeting with my teacher, we were talking about this situation with Luke, and he said to me, can we reframe that? And I go, okay. And we were talking about the teacher, and I recognize that I see the world in preventative measure. I didn't know that I had the preventative measure glasses on. I'm living my life that way. I wouldn't know it. You might even tell me, and I might get a little defensive about it, right? But when the glasses came off, it was the most liberating, expansive feeling. The hairs on my arm stood up, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I was so good at compliance and banking. Prevent, 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 prevent. But if you're going around preventing, you're also controlling. And if you're controlling, you're in fear. And so taking those glasses off and being willing to lay that down and use it consciously instead of unconsciously is the beautiful thing in a difficult situation, right? That I got to say for the first time, I don't have to hide that quality. I don't have to hide controlling. I don't have to hide preventative seeing. I get to say, yes, I see the world this way. Start a support group for all of you that want to join me. And then we can actually forgive ourselves for that which we did not know, and then use it consciously and live expansively and utilize it for the beauty and the good. Where can you find beauty even in the ordinary or when life feels ordinary or challenging? How might this perception of beauty change your experience? Standing in the fire of life, I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. Have you ever been with someone who's really in pain and you want to make it okay? You want to give them the answers, you want to take their pain away, but we can't. We have to learn to sit in the stillness and listen, which is a lesson for me as well. Someone told me this week that I talk too much. Imagine that. And I got really mad. But there's something that when we're talking a lot, we're typically in our mind. And we're in our heart, we're listening, we're hearing. There's a difference between listening and hearing. And when we're hearing, we can feel their pain. And sometimes if you're empathetic, I know I turned this off when I was very young, because sometimes feeling other people's pain is really hard. It's really hard, and you have to, really ground yourself in spiritual principle and just know that whatever's going on out there is not going on in here, and that when we align ourselves with that true spiritual principle, we can sit with anyone. And the more feeling you are, the more difficult or challenging it might be, but practice makes perfect. Honesty and truthfulness makes perfection. The spiritual principle here is faith and resilience. Standing in life's fire without shrinking back speaks to the resilience and faith. This is what my teacher Tom told me this week is, Tracey, it doesn't matter how you gained your ego preservation strategy of preventative measure, it built resilience within you. So there's the beauty, the opposite, the balance. Ernest Holmes said, faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea that any contradiction is unthinkable. Resilience isn't the absence of fear, but the courage to face life with unwavering with unwavering trust in spirit. Unwavering trust. I don't know about you, but my trust wavers a little bit, depending on how deeply I feel or what's going on. Job loss, illness, those will waver. We are people, humans. They will waver us. That's why we have a community together collectively to lean on, to remind us. What does it mean for you to stand in the fire of life, staying true to your path, even when it's uncomfortable? I don't know about you, but I have been through some uncomfortable situations. And having these spiritual principles as guides, I might not find them for 2 or 3 days. I might even yell at a couple of people along the way. But once I stop and slow down and say, fill my heart with your love and your grace, purify me so that I only may know you, in every circumstance, that it rises to the top, and use my lips and my tongue for your words to breathe through me, so that all I meet may know, and I may be able to tell the truth about my uncomfortableness, and that those who wish to support me will find their way forward. So in closing with this poem, do you see how it is a call to the heart? It is a call to your true essence. My teacher says, let there be peace, there is peace, I am peace. Let there be light, there is light, I am light. Let there be love, there is love, I am love. As we close, I just want you to take a deep breath in. Turn to your heart center and place your hand over your heart. Feel the steady beat and know that this rhythm connects you to your deepest truth. It is your deepest truth. Your essence, breathing in, breathing out. Ask yourself, what do I ache for? What brings me alive? Ernest says, life is that mirror reflecting back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Your attention creates your reality. And as you go forward, may you reflect the truth of who you are, whole, courageous, connected to the divine. Take time to journal and to explore these principles in your life. There are journal sheets based on the poem and the poem out in the sanctuary. Please utilize them this week. And we'll just ground this in a quick prayer. I just know right here, right now, that there is one truth, one reality. That reality is the creative essence, that which we call God, that which we call universal spirit. And that essence is our divine truth. And because that truth is us, I am knowing it for myself and for you, that is revealed through the heart today in everything we do in our humanness. That whatever is going on in the objective reality, the world of impermanence, it comes, it goes, it heals, it cures, it comes back. It doesn't matter. We stand here today on these spiritual truths that there is only one, and that one is who you are. And that one is expressed to the level in which you allow it to be. And I know here that we are connected to that heart. We are connected to that space, to that love. It is revealed to us that which we need to do to shatter the heart and break free and open ourselves to that expansive being that we were born to be, so that your good may find its way to you. I call it in for whatever your desire is, whatever you choose, whatever you ache for. It is yours. I call it here. I call it now. It is truth. It is done. It is spread into the wind. And I am grateful for these words, knowing it is done. And so it is.